our good friend Chase Goodbread of NFL.com, Crimson Cover Television, and the Talkin Tide podcast, which you can hear myself and Chase on a regular basis there as well. Chase, you getting ready to make the drive up to Nashville, I guess?
Heading on 2059 to 65 as soon as possible. Haven't broken away yet. Looking forward to not having to deal with that airport detour that I'm getting pretty tired of.
Oh, yeah, that little bit of a cluster there as you approach Birmingham. It can be troublesome through there these days. So kind of give us a lay of the land for Chase Goodbread. What will this week consist of? Because for us, we just know that the draft gets underway Thursday. But what will you be doing in Nashville in the coming days leading up to Thursday night's opening round?
Primarily bouncing around a couple of media opportunities, some chances to talk to the players that the NFL has invited to Nashville for the draft. I know Wednesday they have this, well, the Wednesday before every draft now, they have this Play 60 event where those players get together with some local kids and play some flag football games with them and run them through some fun drills. And there's a media opportunity to talk to those players when that's over. So there's going to be a big congregation of reporters awaiting. They're going to be counting down those 60 minutes one by one for that Play 60 event to talk to some of those guys. And as well, the NFL Network analyst Daniel Jeremiah, who's taken over as the lead analyst this draft, is going to be doing some media opportunities as well. So really just writing some news stories here and there. Obviously, trades will pop up left and right, and you kind of never know when a little bit of news is going to break. Sometimes it's crazy. Sometimes you have, just crazy situations like you had with Lyle Collins a couple of years ago, leaving the draft prematurely. The thing with Laramie Tunsil just a year later, I think. So Oof. You kind of never know what's going to happen. There's usually a couple of surprises, and they can keep you up late sometimes.
Yeah, the Tunsil thing might have been the greatest draft Twitter bomb to date. The way that one went down in the lead up to round one there a couple of years back. Let's talk this draft again from the UA perspective. Chad Reuter, your colleague there at NFL.com, most recently did a 7-round mock. And looking at it, as you would expect, Alabama very heavily represented in that mock. Chad Reuter has 3 Alabama players going in the opening round. Chase, Quinnen Williams, Jonah Williams, and Josh Jacobs. We've talked about this opening round a couple of times in the last month or so. Alabama going for a 3rd straight draft with 4 first-round picks. Are you in line with what Chad sees there from the Alabama perspective in that opening round, Chase?
Definitely in line with the 3 he's got going in the first round. There's no question Quinnen Williams is going to be an early first-round pick. I think top 5 is on the mark for him. Chad's got him going to the San Francisco 49ers at number 5. Jonah Williams and Josh Jacobs going in the first round. To me, those are givens, and I hesitate a little bit to call any running back a given in the first round because sometimes they slide just because of the position they play. But I do think Jacobs will go. And then, of course, Irv Smith is kind of your wild card factor. We've talked about that on the show once or twice before. He may go in the first round. He may not. If Alabama does get 4 guys, then it'll probably be Irv Smith maybe slipping in the back door. And the New England Patriots seemingly always have that number 32 pick. And this particular year, they're for the first time going into things without Gronk. So tight end, definitely a position they'll be looking to address at some point.
Yeah, Chad, interestingly enough, and you can find Chad Reuter's 7-round mock there at NFL.com. He has Irv Smith Jr. going to New England, but he has a trade there at the end of the first round. I'll give this to Chad. He's even got trades forecasted into his mock. He's got San Francisco trading up to that 32nd pick, and New England dropping back to 36 overall and still taking Irv Smith in the second round there. So yeah, it seems like the Patriots very much the team that eyeballs are on when it comes to Irv Smith Jr. and where he goes perhaps in the first round or even into the second round of the draft. Another guy we've talked about a lot in terms of intrigue and just fascination about when and where this guy could go is Mack Wilson, the inside linebacker. Chad has Mack Wilson going number 57 overall in the second round to the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're team Mack Wilson right now on this Monday, would you take that right now, Chase?
I think you do. I mean, second round is a good spot, I think, for Mack Wilson. So Chad doesn't have him slipping too far. There's definitely plenty of chatter out there that Mack could be looking at, third round or maybe a pick closer to the neighborhood of 100 as opposed to 57. I think you do take that, and it's going to be fun to see how he develops. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for the team that drafts him to see how he looks outside instead of inside. Obviously, he was an inside linebacker his entire career at Alabama, but I think with his athletic skill set, if you put him outside, you give him more responsibility maybe on third down and passing situations where he tends to excel, and maybe a little bit less gap responsibility and a little bit more of an ability to just kind of play the perimeter. It might suit him at the next level.
So maybe more of a weak side backer and a 4-3 look. Is that what
Sure.
you're kind of pointing to?
I mean, it won't shock me. I don't see why not. Certainly.
Yeah, I like that too. Now, Chad has Damian Harris going one pick after Mack Wilson in the second round of the Dallas Cowboys, Chase. I ask you again, if you're Damian Harris and his people, are you happy with that selection there in the second round? I would think you would be, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're disappointed. And you may not be thrilled either because Damian Harris is pretty well regarded as a second round guy, and number 58 obviously puts him toward the back end of the second round. But yeah, I think that's right in the neighborhood where you'll probably see Harris go. If you ask me to pick the over under at 58, I'd probably take the under, but it's a good spot for him.
Deontay Thompson. This is interesting, more so because of the timing that it would represent based on Nick Saban's comments about Ronnie Harrison a year ago, coming out early from the safety position at Alabama, going in the third round of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, interestingly enough, Chad, and I've seen another mock or two, I believe, that has Deontay Thompson coming out as a redshirt junior, not a true junior, a fourth-year guy. But the Jags going with another Alabama safety there in the third round. Does that range at least sound about right for Deontay Thompson, Chase?
It sounds a bit high to me. I think he certainly could go there. You wonder, though, with the way things went for him in the spring, not being able to do anything at Pro Day, shooting for a makeup Pro Day where he also wasn't able to run. You wonder how much that hurts him, if it hurts him a lot. So, the pedigree coming from Alabama, being a defensive player, that always helps. So it won't shock me if he goes there. But if I had to get, we're going over under again on that number, I'd probably take the over on Deontay. And speaking of our Jacksonville Jaguars, Chad's got our Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis. Chad's got Ed Oliver going to the Jags early in the first round. My gosh, how many defensive linemen do the Jags need? I thought taking Taven Bryan last year was overkill for a defensive line that was already pretty loaded, and now Chad's got him going again at that spot.
Yeah, as a Jags enthusiast, I think Ed Oliver could prove to be a great, don't get me wrong, a great pick, disruptive force, a real playmaker type in the pass rush and otherwise. But I think I'd rather see our Jags go offense in one form or fashion, primarily an offensive lineman or even a tight end, before they go defensive line, as you just outlined for us there. So I've got a question for you, Chase, as we look at this Alabama contingent. Chad Reuter, your colleague there at NFL.com, he doesn't have Christian Miller being drafted at all, the outside linebacker. How do you see Christian Miller in this draft? And Now, Chad does have Savion Smith going in the 6th round. So my question to you is more, who will you be more surprised isn't drafted if they don't go? Savion Smith or Christian Miller?
Miller. I'd probably go against Chad's projection on that. I think Smith is probably more likely to go undrafted than Miller is. And they're both, I think, third-day guys, no question about that. Smith didn't run particularly well at all at the combine. Didn't have a great year at Alabama either. Last year, obviously, he ended up losing a starting gig for a while, and his play was up and down. Christian Miller, one of the red flags with him definitely is the medical file. It's certainly going to be pretty thick, and all 32 teams are going to judge how his injuries at Alabama will impact him in the next 3 to 5 years in 32 different ways. They don't all look at it the same, and all it takes is one team to feel really good about it for you to get drafted higher than people project. But that said, I think Miller's more likely to get the call than Smith. But as long as we're talking about 7th rounders too, it's always worth noting, Travis, that not getting drafted at all sometimes can be a blessing, because a guy goes in the 7th round, he's stuck for his destination, which may or may not be a great fit. Whereas some of these undrafted free agents, if they're priorities, they could get 8, 10 offers. And if they make the club, they're making the same money, and they get to cherry pick their destination with an agent who's going to help them sort out how the depth chart looks.
Yeah, and I would think with Savion Smith and Christian Miller, Chase, they're both at positions of value, corner, edge, and those guys typically have more offers than some guys at some other spots, right?
There's no doubt. Yeah, you definitely see cornerbacks, pass rusher. Now, all the quarterbacks anybody wants, they tend to get drafted. There's not a bunch of them floating around as priority free agents. But yeah, pass rushers, corners, you definitely see, defensive tackles more often not. And guys who clubs think can help on special teams. That's primarily the market when it comes to that undrafted free agent market.
As we let you go, Chase, let you get on the road there to Nashville, to the Music City. Excuse me. You got to go to the Magic City and then to the Music City. A question I had today for BOL subscribers, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. The position during Nick Saban's tenure at Alabama that, in your opinion, has changed the most, going back from 2017 to the 2018 season, whether it's nose tackle, quarterback, safety. Give me that one position on the field that you think has changed the most since Nick Saban during his tenure at UA.
I think it's got to be the nose guard because Nick Saban is always going to want that 320-pound anchor to play either head up on the center or shaded right on either side of him against the teams that are going to run power football. But back in 2007, there were more teams trying to pound the football than there are today. And look, that's not to say the spread hadn't come around yet. The spread was well established in 2007. But what you didn't see so much was the fast break, hurry up stuff where you're putting the ball in the air 60 times and just forsaking the run. That wasn't around in 2007, at least not quite as prevalently, if that's a word, as it is today. And so what that's done is it's made very much a specialty role out of that nose guard spot. Saban's always going to have one. I think in 2007, though, if he'd have had him, he'd have rather had two.
Yeah, the game changing in general has changed, and I for one didn't foresee a stretch where you would see the RPO quarterback as much in a Nick Saban offense either. But here we are. The guy knows what gives him problems on the defensive side of the ball, and he adjusts accordingly on the offensive and defensive sides of the football. Hey, Chase, safe travels up to Nashville. We'll certainly be following your coverage there at NFL.com. I know we're going to get together for a post-draft podcast on Talkin Tide, so look forward to that as well. We'll get together again soon. Be safe, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Travis.